everyone. I am Press Secretary Philomena Robertson. So good to be back with you after a couple of weeks. Welcome to this week's post-cabinet press briefing. I trust that everyone had a good, safe and enjoyable carnival season and that we are right back into the mode of work. Now, this morning, I have with me the Minister of Youth, Sports, Culture and the Arts, Senator the Honorable Nolan Cox, and the Minister with responsibility for tertiary education, skills and education outreach, Honorable Pamela Moses. And they will be talking about developments, carnival, sporting developments, and Minister Moses, that is, she will update us as it relates to CXC and CAPE results, along with some other developments from her ministry. This morning, however, before we delve into the formal proceedings, I would just like to make a point on professionalism and respect. This is a professional setting. The facilitators are usually ministers of government or senior officials, and they are professionals. Likewise, members of the media who are present are professionals. And as such, we should conduct ourselves in a manner befitting of professionals. In other words, there should be professionalism in the workplace. And all persons here at the press briefing are in the workplace in one capacity or another. One of the key elements of professionalism is demonstrating respect. Respect for one's self, respect for colleagues, respect for persons in authority. Respect for the workplace environment, whether it is your actual office or another location where you execute your duties as a professional. Specifically, as it relates to these press briefings, we must also demonstrate respect for the audience, the viewing and listening public. There have been instances in recent times when it appeared that the professional nature of this weekly press briefing is challenged and where disrespect is evident. We are all servants of the people, and in executing our respective duties, we should remember this and put personal issues aside. This is simply not the time nor the place. From henceforth, I would expect that we would all conduct ourselves in a professional, respectful, and courteous manner at all times during our weekly post-cabinet press briefings. With that being said, I now call on Minister Moses to provide us with her update as it relates to education.
Okay, good morning. Thank you so much. Good morning to everyone. Today, I would just like to update you on two of our examinations that has just been released here for the TAMCC CAPE reports and for CSEC for secondary schools. The TA Marichaud Community College, Grenada and Carriacou campus, the analysis I would like to share with you for the CAPE, Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Examination, the results for 2019. For the Grenada campus in Tantine, it is to be noted that in the 2019 exam, there was an overall pass rate of 94.43% this year. This is an increase of 11.18% over last year's. We commend the staff and students at the TAMCC for such a great improvement. In CAPE, there is Unit 1 and Unit 2. I would like to now report on Unit 1, CAPE 2019. The percentage pass in CAPE Unit 1 was 93.13% this year, as compared to 80% in 2018. Now, this is an increase of 13.13% in the performance of CAPE Unit 1 in 2019. The results show that there were 91 grade 1s from 19 subject areas, as compared to 56 grade 1s last year from the same 19 subject areas. So again, we're seeing tremendous increase in the performance by the TA Marichaud Community College. Now, out of the 11 performances, Out of the 11 units, subject units, we had 100% grade 1 passings. 100%. For Unit 2, CAPE Unit 2, the percentage pass this year was 96.99%, as compared to 88.39% in 2018. Yet another increase, another improvement in the performance of the staff and students at the TAMCC by 8% this year in CAPE Unit 2. There was again 100% pass for the 2019 Unit 2 CAPE exams in 11 of the subject units. 11 out of 19 of the subject units showing 100% pass. The top 5 performers for Unit 1 CAPE, who all attained grade 1 passes, they were Karina Blash, Tierra Joseph, Wazim Paisadi, Christian Menezes Chow Chong, and Josel Mercer. The top performers in the 2019 Unit 2 CAPE, attaining grade 1s only again, were Joshua Francis, L.J. Watts, Kiana Slocum, Rich Charles, Terrick Raybon. Now, that was for our Tantine Grenada campus. TAMCC also has CAPE being done at the Carriacou campus. And so now I'd like to give you a breakdown of the analysis for the Carriacou campus. Again, great performances from Carriacou. And so as a government, as a Ministry of Education, we highly commend Carriacou, where 26 students wrote CAPE in the 2019 exams in 7 subject areas and attained an overall pass rate of 100% this year. This is an increase again of 10% from last year. The best performers in the 2019 Unit 2 CAPE examinations for Carriacou, who would have attained mainly grade 2s, were Celeste Leggard and Ria Noel. So we commend TAMCC, TA Marisho Community College, highly for its great performances and all the improvements in the CAPE exams. Now just for CXE results. The overall pass rate in 2019 was 74.54% in the CXE exams. Again, an improvement of 5% over as compared to 2018. The overall pass rate over the last 3 years moved from 67.4% in 2017 to 70.5% in 2018, and now in 2019 to 74.5% for this year. So this has been steady improvement in the area of CXEs. We do commend all of our teachers, all of our students for all of their efforts. As always in the secondary school system, CSEC performance, the largest entries are English A and in the area of mathematics. Just to share with you the breakdown in terms of mathematics, sad to say the performance in mathematics continues to remain below average, with a 38.5% for 2018 and the very same 38.5% again in 2019. Again, there's been no improvement in terms of regionally. We continue to remain below average in the regional as compared to the regional pass rate of 46%. So mathematics definitely is an area that we have to focus on this year as a ministry and going forward. In the area of English, I report that we have significant improvements with a 66.98% in 2018 to a 78.28% pass rate in 2019, an increase of 11% from 2018 to 2019. So we commend our teachers, our principal, our Ministry of Education, workers, curriculum officers, education officers, everyone who would have contributed to this significant improvement or the steady improvement in English A in the CXC-CSEC examination. Now, when compared to the region, Grenada is above average in the region in English A performance at the CSEC examination. We are 6.2% above the Caribbean region performance. The top performers, the top 5 performances in the CSEC examinations are Tasia Patrice. She attained 15 subjects and she's from Carriacou. We commend Carriacou, the Hillsborough Secondary School. Next, we have Alicia Roberts. She attained 14 subject passes from St. Joseph Convent, St. George's. Olivia Antoine, 14 passes from St. Joseph Convent, St. George's. Sarah Logie, 13 passes from St. Joseph Convent, St. George's. And Danley Berkeley, 13 subjects from Westmoreland Secondary. We congratulate all of our students from TAMCC and all of our secondary schools for your performance, and our Ministry of Education, we wish them all success in their future endeavors. Finally, I just want to share with you that many of our schools are being repaired at present, and I just want to assure the nation, the parents, the teachers, the students, that we are aware that all of our contractors, they're working days as well as nights, plus weekends, to ensure that the schools are completed for the reopening. A formal report is being prepared and is being compiled, and that would be shared with you before school reopens in September. Finally, I just want to say that the long-awaited Holy Cross RC School will be open on Wednesday, the 28th of August. The official ceremony will start at the school compound, Holy Cross RC, at 3 p.m. And our ministry would like to thank all the parents, the teachers, the students, and the entire community of Munich for their support, but most importantly for their patience. And so we want to encourage them to value the investment that our government continue to make in the field of education. And how you can show your appreciation is just simply by caring for the building, for protecting the facility. And we pray that education will be enhanced and that the learning experience at Holy Cross RC would be a pleasurable one for all of our students. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Just to bolster a point that the Minister would have made with reference to our English A, she noted that we are indeed above the regional average, and the statistics show that our pass rate is 78.28 and the regional average is 72%, yes? Yes. So that is just an indication of how we are performing above the rest of the region as it relates to that particular subject. So thank you very much, Minister, for the information shared this morning. We are certainly doing very well where our CSEC and CAPE exams are concerned, and we just need to continue working on the weak areas that we have highlighted, the mathematics, and just keep pressing for even more improvement. Thank you. Minister Cox, the floor is now yours. Carnival is all over and done with for 2019, but I'm sure the planning has already begun for 2020.
Thank you very much, Press Secretary, and that's fine. Thank you very much, and let me say a pleasant morning to our viewers, listeners, listening at our important post-cabinet press briefing this morning. I'm not sure Carnival is over. I'm not sure that it's done with. That's the next thing. But this morning, I want to take this opportunity to give some update on some sports-related matters, and of course some culture-related matters as well. I think it's fitting that we start with sports, just so not to overshadow it with Carnival. So we want to start off by recognizing the outstanding performance of for our athletes at the Pan Am Games, recently concluded Pan Am Games. But most importantly, Anderson Peters, who would have attained a record-breaking gold medal in the javelin throw at Pan Am Games. We want to recognize that and congratulate him and the staff, coach, all the associations, all the stakeholders who have contributed to this success. We recognize that he has continued to perform, he has continued to improve, and we expect greater things from him as he continues to prepares for the 2020 Olympics. I know that he's also preparing for the World Championship Games will be taking place in Doha, coming up in early October, I think from the 2nd to the 6th of October. Also, special mention must be made of Lyndon Victor, who got silver in the decathlon. He has always been an outstanding athlete, and we are confident that he will continue to raise the bar and medal for Grenada going forward. Also at the World Championships and hopefully at the Olympic, providing that all our athletes continue to remain healthy. We want to make mention of all the other athletes who would have performed and represent Grenada at the Pan Am Games. We also want to send our best wishes to Kurt Felix, who was injured and couldn't perform at 100%, and we wish him a speedy recovery. I want to speak a little bit on swimming at this point in time, but before I go on to that, I think it's important that I make mention of particular interactions that met my office, and it had to do with government's engagement in terms of how we treat with Anderson based on his successes. As persons may know, Anderson is currently a student, and he's under the NCAA rules and regulations. As such, he's not allowed to receive any monetary gifts or so for his performances. As such, the government would not in any way do anything to jeopardize his scholarship, and as such, we would not be issuing or giving any tangible stuff to Anderson. And it's the same way we had engaged him after the Commonwealth Games. What we would have done was to at least recognize him as one of our sports ambassadors, and that is what we'll continue to provide the technical support and wherever we can at this point in time. And so, just to make it clear, it is for those reasons that we would not be making such, providing such support to him. Only if he's a professional, then we can so do, not as a student. And I think that is the responsible approach that we have decided to take in this regard. As we move to swimming, our swimmers, we have 3 swimmers together with our coach, Natalie, who is currently in Hungary. They are participating in the FINA Junior World Championship. We have 3 of our swimmers who will be participating in the 50 and 100 meter breaststroke, 50 and 100 meters freestyle and butterfly. So we want to wish them all the best. We know that they have been representing us very successfully, and we continue to expect no lesser support from the general public in supporting our swimmers as they make Grenada proud going forward. Also, in September, the 21st of September, we'll be hosting together the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture together with GASA. We'll be hosting what we deemed inaugural Pure Grenada Open Water Invitational. It's the first of its kind in Grenada, and we're going to have some support from the Grenada Tourism Authority, hence the reason why we call it Pure Grenada, Aquamoon USA, Ariza Credit Union, and of course technical support from the Ministry of Sports. Currently, we have 40 persons registered to participate in this event, persons from Europe and North America. There is an expectation of 200 persons participating in this event. Some of these events are going to be a 1K, a 3K, a 5K, and a 10K. So it's open water swimming on our beautiful Grandlands Beach on the 21st. I think that's Saturday the 21st of September. So I think this is a very important event, and we want persons to come out and be part and give some support to Gaza as they continue to develop swimming in Grenada. I will now move on to culture. And before I go to Carnival, I think it's important that we recognize we have 120 cultural performers who are in Trinidad currently participating in the Carifesta 14 hosting of Carifesta. We know that they have started to represent us very well, and they're doing quite excellent, and it's important that we recognize those persons as they go to promote our culture on the regional and international stage. And so we are very proud of them, what they are doing for Grenada. The Ministry of Culture continues to provide all the necessary support that we can to make sure that these events happen and to make sure that we sustain our culture throughout the region, and we take Grenada as far across the world as we can. On to Carnival. This evening, Spice Mass is endeavoring to have our prize giving ceremony this evening at 4 p.m. at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium, where all our winners will receive their prize monies for participating in Spice Mass events. On Carnival, in a general sense, the ministry is very pleased, and we want to start off first by saying that we're pleased with the outcome of Spice Mass 2019. We want to congratulate all our winners, our sponsors who have invested significantly in Spice Mass, our masqueraders, all our artists, our key stakeholders, Steel Pan, masqueraders, Calypsonians. Without your input and investment, we would not have what we deemed as probably one of Grenada's best carnival for 2019. We recognize that there were a number of issues, challenges, and we have continued to start working. The police has already held their post-mortem on Spice Mass 2019, and Spice Mass is looking to have theirs, I believe, on the 3rd of September. Potentially they will have their post-mortem. So we continue to encourage persons to engage Spice Mass. We have been listening to all the feedbacks, comments, suggestions, what has been taking place in the public, and we are very welcoming to those suggestions, and we are going to look to see where we can continue to improve. And we believe the successes that we have this year is also stem from a result of us listening to the public, listening to some of our key technical persons, and we're able to improve in some critical areas because we listened and we walk along. Sometimes some of the decisions that we take is not every aspect and the full details of why we make certain decisions do not really meet the public, and sometimes you get feedback sometimes that is confusing, because if you don't have an integral understanding of what takes place in Spice Mass and how we treat with certain things, sometimes some of our policy decisions cannot seem. But as we see now, in terms of the results, persons are seeing the wisdom in some of these decisions, and of course we still have some work to do. And so we also want to encourage all our stakeholders, everybody, to continue to engage us, continue to work with us as we try to make Spice Mass bigger and better. We recognize that what would have happened this year is going to present a greater challenge for us in terms of expectations going forward. But with the increase of visitors, we know that they are going to go back and give an account of their experience, and more persons will be wanting to come to Grenada, and so which means that we have more work to do in terms of improving on the product, improving also on the accommodation sector, making sure we have space to accommodate everybody, and it's going to require a lot more in terms of security. I think that has been one of the biggest selling points for us. Is that, I mean, it was truly amazing to see thousands of people just having fun without no violence, and I think that is something that we as Grenadians have to be proud of. And I think the true success of this carnival is basically, I believe, the display of Grenadian patriotism, friendliness, and warmth throughout the entire season. I think that is the major takeaway for us. Not so much the shows, not so much the masquerade, but it's how we as Grenadians would have welcomed visitors to our shows, and how we would have carried ourselves throughout the whole season. I think it was truly remarkable. I had an opportunity to go as far as St. Patrick's, St. David's, throughout, and everywhere the mood, the feeling, the same. Everybody just wanted to have fun and to celebrate Grenada and our culture. So at this point in time, I'll be open for any questions on what was indicated. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister Cox. As he mentioned, the floor is now open for questions. As per usual, please identify yourself and your media house before asking your question.
Sherry and Noel, GIS. I want to start with Minister Cox. Minister Cox, I just want to go back a little further information as it pertains to the open water swimming invitational expected on the 21st of September. I realize you made mention of Europe and North America. Are we opening to the region as well?
Yes, we are. The reason why I mentioned that that's who has registered so far. But we expect about 200 persons, so including the region as well. Yes. Okay.
So will this be an annual event going forward in terms of helping to promote the swimming?
That is something that will depend on how this year's event turn out. And also, hosting those events, there are cost implications. So I believe after GASA would have do the analysis, they would see, based on the objectives of the event, they would see whether or not they would want to continue, and if they continue, make adjustments and changes. But I suspect that this will be an annual feature on our calendar, sports calendar going forward. And as you can see, it's getting a bit crowded. Just to indicate also, we're trying to make a little request. We made a request, an official request. We haven't got any feedback as yet, just quietly, that we're hoping that we can host the Carriacou Games, the 50th Carriacou Games in 2021. It's not finalized yet, but we have made a bid to host. I just wanted to mention that as well. So we have a lot working on.
Okay. On a side note, though, you spoke to Carnival and the post-mortem done by the RGPF and its safety, and so in recent days there was a news story circulating, and while most of the artists and so who participate are pleased with their receiving appearance fees, there is an issue with the juniors. I don't know from your desk if you care to just clear that up, because some are saying that the juniors were supposed to be given an appearance fee and they weren't.
Well, yes. Thank you for raising it. I am aware of that. I did look at the news item as well, and I was a little bit, disappointed that was the outcome. Let me just, for historical context. Traditionally, what happened is that the Junior Calypso finals was the only event that normally would take place at the Children's Carnival Frolic, or I think they had it at the Carnival City Last. And what would happen is that the juniors would send in, I think, the recording, and the selection would just made for the final participants. And based on what I heard from the news item, and speaking to the CEO in particular, I think it was a little bit unfortunate because the CEO, when he came in, one of the first things he said to me is that, Minister, look, I don't like this setting and how the juniors have been treated. And he said, look, let's try and do a semi or preliminary with the juniors instead of just choosing them out and just putting them into the finals. So my first question to him was, how are we going to pay for that? And he said, look, we are going to have the stage up in Progress Park, and we'll have that vacant day between the semi-finals for the soccer, and then we have the finals for Calypso on the Sunday. So he said, let's use the stage. We already have the stage. I didn't think about that. And hence the reason why we give it a go this year. We said, look, let's try it out and see how that go, if that can be another event. And so when I heard remarks that the CEO doesn't care about the young people, I mean, I was a little bit stunned, because he was the one that made that suggestion, and he was the one that put forward that to see how we can accommodate them better, give them an opportunity to come on the stage, on the big stage, and judge them, and then choose them to go to the finals. So what we would have done this year was just basically a trial run to see how that goes. And so we had never given any commitment to paying any appearance fees for that event at all. And so I don't know what was communicated to parents or and to the kids, and so it's quite unfortunate that they have this expectation when in truth and in fact there was no intention for that to happen, and we are feeling a bit bad that was communicated, and it make it seem as if Spice Mass is creating some unfair treatment to the juniors, and that is not the case, and we continue to provide extensive support to the juniors. I mean, I empathize with the parents because I don't know, and we haven't really made any decisions on that, because that is not an item that we would have costed and budgeted for, and so it's a bit unfortunate. I mean, if that was raised before as an issue, then that is something that we could have addressed, because look, honestly, when we sat and we were looking at the prizes for the juniors, we believed that it was way below par, and so the increase that was applied even to the first prize for the juniors was much more than what we announced in terms of 10 to 15% for prizes. I can tell it was probably about 40%. And so to say that we do not care about the juniors, I think it's a little bit unfair, and we understand the frustration that if there is an expectation and you didn't get anything, so it's something that we have to look at. I mean, I don't know, but that wasn't something that was ever communicated in any way. So that is the challenge that we have, and those things happen when you have miscommunications, and we do not want to fault anyone in any way, but that is what really and truly honestly transpired. I mean, we would have spent a significant amount of money in terms of preparing the juniors, paying for the bands for them to sing, paying for the songs, paying for the score sheet, the everything. A few $1,000s. Well, I don't want to go into figures per se, but that is where we are. So I think there is some misunderstanding as to the Ministry of Culture and Spice Mass support towards junior development. Even from the ministry, we do extensive work in preparing some of the juniors and helping them write songs and working with them. So as I say, it's a bit unfortunate that is where we are, and that is what was felt or communicated, but it's something that we need to address.
Thank you. I just have one final question for Minister Moses. You gave a synopsis about the improvements in terms of the CSEC and the Cape, but I just want to ask you, in terms of analyzing from where you sit, the improvements in terms of girls and boys.
Yes. Sorry, I don't have the full breakdown in terms of, but I can provide you with that later on this week. Thank you. All right.
Good morning, Callistra Farrier. Minister of Culture, a couple of questions. One has to do with mass. There's been a lot of talk about a particular carnival band that, Lavish, I believe it was, that people had encountered difficulties with getting their costumes. They would have paid online, and we had a situation where the monies were paid outside of Grenada, so we have an issue of revenue to the country for that particular mass band, and then the difficulty that people had in getting the product that they had paid for. Oh, okay, I have the name wrong. My apologies to Lavish, who were on the road, and I believe the band that ran into difficulties joined up with Lavish at some point. So are we looking at any changes next year that could avoid that sort of thing? Number one. And number two, are we looking at anything where bands who operate from outside of Grenada, blocking off that income stream, because we spend a lot of money promoting Spice Mass as a product, and you see, I don't like to use the word outsiders, but for want of a better word right now, outsiders benefiting financially in a way that excludes income into the country for what they are doing. So are we looking at any kind of regulation surrounding mass bands for the going forward?
All right. Thank you very much for that question. That's an important question. Sometime I think just a day or two, I think Carnival Monday, I believe, I think it was Sunday, I was on a praise on a matter regarding one or two bands having some issue in terms of delivering on their packages, and I think while one band situation might have been worse, I think that several bands had some challenges, and even based on reports, even bands, local bands as well, had some challenges. What was the reason for those? We are still trying to ascertain all the information in that regard. While those bands are non-competing bands, they are part of the Carnival product, and of course that is a concern for us. And in terms of having that negative image with Grenada, having a Carnival and having mass bands not delivering on the product, I think that is something serious, and we are going to see how we can address that. That will be one of the issues that we'll be looking at from the post-mortem level. We have never looked at it before, but it's a critical area of risk for our product. And we have to look at it and do something about it. As to how persons going to retrieve their monies and stuff, I can't tell you. I don't know. As I say, until we ascertain all the information, I don't know. The issue of foreign bands, I think it's a gray area, because most of those persons are Grenadian nationals or returning nationals, and so. I don't know that we want to limit our carnival in any way or so. We are actually going out there and marketing it, and so if persons see commercial opportunities and trying to expand from that, maybe some of our local entrepreneurs should get involved. And that is what we started to see happening, to take advantage of opportunities from a commercial standpoint. But it's a gray area, and we will continue to look to see how we can protect not just our Grenadians here on mainland, but also Grenadians who and persons and visitors who are desirous of coming to Grenada to participating in our carnival. It's important that we protect them, and it's along those lines we will be making some interventions, and there may have been genuine issues that is beyond the control of those persons who were managing those bands. So until we get an opportunity to get a full appreciation of what really transpired, I think we'll be in a better position for them to work with us to ensure that does not. Because I don't think that any band wants to be in that position. I don't think that they deliberately put themselves, because obviously that is going to damage your brand, and you may not even to perform not only in Grenada but in another country or so. So we'll see how, when the information is collected, what really transpired. But thank you for that question.
Now, I have been told by persons in the circle, in the mass band circles, that some persons there's a entity, one or two outfits out of Trinidad who have a regional business sort of where they would do the pieces for mass bands and send the pieces in to be assembled. I know years ago in Grenada there was a really big thing about not having your costumes made outside, particularly the bands who were being judged, not having your costumes made outside of Grenada, imported in pieces and assembled here, that everything had to be made here from the ground up. Also, wire bending, I was told, seems to be not so prevalent anymore in the creation of mass in Grenada. So is that on your radar in terms of the building of costumes here and the Trinidad influence? And also, 10 bands registered with Spice Mass, 12 judged. I'm told that 2 bands that weren't even local ended up being judged. I'm not sure if that's true or not. Can you speak to that as well, sir?
Unfortunately, I can't answer about the question about the judging. Also, which bands were judged. I can't tell you about that right now. But the issue in terms of the transition in terms of how things were done, and I think one of the challenges that mass bands persons are facing is the change in the industry, type of material that is used, also a desire to be more creative. Persons are trying to be to get more support in terms of because if you want to be competitive, obviously you'll be driven to get the best materials, and some of those materials may not be available locally. Hence the reason why I believe that there is a surge to go outside. But those are things that we're going to discuss at the post-mortem because it's something that we recognize as something that needs to be addressed.
I was referring to the material itself, which has always happened. Trinidad is the place you go to get the raw material you need to build your costumes. I'm talking about costumes being made at mass bands in Trinidad and imported into the country in pieces to be assembled here. So they're not Grenadian products. They're simply put on the assembly line here while they're produced there, which is something that came up in national discussion years ago. It was a big thing that this was happening, and then insistence by people who were seeking to develop the local culture and develop the skill locally that we ought not to do that, and especially with bands who are going to be facing the carnival, the judges.
Well, if that is an issue, then that is something that we will have to address. But thanks for raising that. We'll look into it. Thank you very much.
Christina John, GBN. My question to Minister Moses is coming out based on the results that you have given on the successes of the students from both Cape and the CSEC, and more concentrate on the CSEC students. There was a discussion really correcting off papers, SBA papers, and so that was on before, say, examination time. Can you tell us where we're at in terms of reaching a solution also? With CXE, the discussion that was going on with CXE, really correcting our papers.
Oh, okay. Well, what I can tell you about that is the school organization, the school principal associations, they are in discussions with the unions, and they have a case out there, but there's not much that I can say beyond this. I trust that there's not much that I can say about that right now.
Papers I'm talking about with CXE and locally?
Yeah, the marking and the fact that some of these matters would be, there's a case out there with, there's not much that I can say about that. But what I can say is that our teachers are, as always, they put the students first, and they have done what they know that they had to do to support the students so that they can have these good results, and I want to commend them. Whatever is the decision, whatever they would have decided to do, we know that there's a lot of regional countries that have court cases in already. Whatever decision is taken, we know that the teachers are very concerned about the students' performance, and that they would continue to do what they know is best that would actually help them. So I can't say much about where that is or That's with the school associations, the unions, and if there's a court case or whatever with the lawyers, I'm not too sure.
My next question to you is based on the opening of the Holy Cross school. Is it a new structure, and how long has been the construction has been going on for, and where were they relocated to?
Well, it has been very long, really, really long, couple years. The exact address where they're at, I'm not too sure at present, but what I can say is that the ministry is preparing right now to work along with the principal, the staff, and the students to have everyone move back for the reopening of school. And hence, that is the reason why the formal opening would be done next Wednesday, and that would give them sufficient time to prepare to have all of that done. And again, I say thanks to them. It's been long overdue, and we really thank them for their patience and their indulgence, and wish them all the best, in their education at that new institution.
Is it a new structure or a refurbished building they're moving?
The building has been, it's the same structure. Refurbished, yeah.
Mr. Cox, now to you, sir. You spoke of the Junior Calypso competition. If I might say, I was present at the semi-final show, and I don't know if you was there, but from my observation, it was only the parents that were present as an audience, which I think might be considered very poor. From the parents' review, the event is poorly supported. I don't know what your comment to this might be. You said that there would be some adjustments that would be made. Can you make reference as to what you intend to do as to boost that product? Because now there's maybe threats from parents to withdraw their children from competition, and it has just started building to 16, I think we had this year in competition. And if we're saying that the children are the future of this country, and we depend on the young artists to take the place of the elder ones when they're gone, what are we doing to save that product?
If you realize, I choose not to say that the event was poorly attended. As I indicated earlier, we probably wouldn't be having the conversation if we would have left it as it is. Not so? Agreed. All right? As I indicated, the reason why we decided to do that is to create more opportunities for the youth. Because, as I indicated, the CEO was looking at a way to see how we can give them an opportunity on the stage. If we had left the event as how it was configured, we would not be having this conversation this morning, and that is a fact. Now, one of the things that we found out that affected the turnout of the event is because it clashed with a children's fete down at Morne Rouge. Yes, the same Saturday. And so there was a strong preference for persons who are accustomed attending that event, and so they went to that event. That is what we found. Even some parents went to that event as well. So it's not just a question for SMC alone, but also for some parents who choose to attend and then to attend that show. So it's something that, as I indicated, that we just tried this year. We have to look at it to see whether or not we can continue with it, and if not, based on what we see and what we might have to do, maybe the venue might have changed, or the time might have changed differently. We might have to do it at a different time, earlier, something of that sort. So as I indicated, it's something that we were just trying to see how we can make happen this year, and we try to fit it in because we didn't have a budget to deal with those extra costs, and so that's why we put it in at that time, because we had the stage already set up for the Calypso semis.
Okay, can I get a clear understanding as to what you mean when you say, had we have left it as it was? Meaning?
Meaning that we never had that semifinals before. This is the first time that we have taken the decision to have that. What used to happen before is that the kids will take their songs, and a group of persons will select those songs for the finals. It never had a semifinals before. And so it's because we are trying to see how we can move away from that, and trying to make the event a little bit more professional. That is why we had that event. So as I said, I think it is unfortunate that parents are protesting in that regard, when it was an effort that we have been trying to make to see how we can improve the juniors. We had a long discussion at the meeting level regarding how we can improve the juniors. When we look at the prize monies, it was a little bit low, and we increased it far much more than in terms of percentage wise. And that is why I really want to reiterate my a little bit confused why we are viewed in that way as not wanting to support, and when it's something that we are actually trying to see how we can improve the presence of the juniors at the carnival.
Okay, diverting a little bit from the juniors, I heard you said that during the carnival season that you made a couple rounds to the different Juves and Davids, Satyrs, and so on. Have you had the opportunity to go to Rainbow City this year? I asked this question based on the response I'm getting from some people who would have carried their children to Grenville and had, as they say, nothing to really look at for most of the day leading into the afternoon on both days. A bit of disappointment to them. What can you tell me in relation to the outcome of Rainbow City, and what improvements, if there's any to be made, that you intend to make, sir?
Just for clarity, you have Rainbow City is the weekend before Carnival. So which weekend are you speaking about? That weekend, the weekend before Carnival? Okay. All right. The Rainbow City event is basically charged with the responsibility of CEDU. All right, the St. Andrews Development Carnival Development Committee. Now, we have had some discussions with CEDU in terms of how they can improve the product. As you know, it's a dialogue, and sometimes some interventions are slow in coming. There's a clear indication that the entire Rainbow City Festival is probably at its lowest point in terms of enthusiasm, in terms of persons feeling that it is what is not what it's supposed to be. I was in Carriacou at that time, because Carriacou Regatta takes place on the same weekend, and both Carriacou Regatta as well also is suffering for some significant issues similar to those of Rainbow City, and I think it has to do with the issue of persons not coming together and planning strategically to find out what are some of the challenges, what are some of the issues. There are a number of other events that is affecting another issues that is affecting Rainbow City, but it's something that needs a wider discussion, and persons must have to be open to making changes. I think that is where the challenge is. If you continue to do the same thing over and over, you're going to get the same result. And I think there is a need right now for some changes with that particular Rainbow City Festival, and I know that the ministry, a lot has been asked of us in this regard to see how we can improve that particular festival. I believe that it can be done. I know that there are persons and members of CEDU who are very passionate about St. Andrews and about Rainbow City in particular. But it's a matter for us to have that discussion and to make some strong decisions for the festival to be revived. Once that is done, I think we have an opportunity. But the conversation must start, and it must start now.
All right, thank you very much, members of the media, and to the ministers who were present here this morning. That brings us to the end of this week's post-cabinet press briefing. To our viewers and to listeners, I think, Minister, you have a final comment that you'd like to make? Yes, Minister Moses, you have the floor.
Yes. Just in regards Munich School, it's a new building, eh? Sorry about that. Yes. We've just been informed by the persons who've been, new building.
Okay, so there we have it, confirmation that the Holy Cross RC School, which will be officially opened next Wednesday, August the 28th, is actually a new building. The question was asked during this press briefing, and we have just confirmed that it is. So thank you again for joining us this morning. We do look forward to seeing you again next week.
Grenada government to undertake comprehensive public expenditure review. Details to this story and more in the national report. With the details to the news for Tuesday, August 20th, I am Leslie Ann Johnson. Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Dr. The Right Honourable Keith Mitchell, has announced government's plans to undertake a comprehensive public expenditure review during the first quarter of 2020. Delivering remarks Tuesday at the 2020 budget retreat, Dr. Mitchell said the review will analyse all government's expenditure, both recurrent and capital. The expenditure review is part of government's efforts to improve accountability in the public service. Dr. Mitchell said, and I quote, "It is imperative that we improve our expenditure management systems if we are to protect and consolidate the gains we have already achieved as a country," unquote. The scope of the review will include analysis of the effectiveness of expenditure allocation and disbursement of each vote, an assessment of the outputs delivered and outcomes achieved through current expenditure, a value for money analysis of spending on road rehabilitation and maintenance, and identification of resources to bolster institutional and technical capacities to improve public expenditure management systems.
We have already approached the European Union for support to carry out the expenditure review during the first quarter of 2020. This review, colleagues, would provide concrete recommendations to strengthen expenditure control as well as the efficiency and effectiveness of public spending and the institutional mechanisms for expenditure management. Government has to ensure accountability at all levels and also has to ensure that there is value for money in all aspects of goods and services that we procure.
The public expenditure review comes against the backdrop of irresponsible expenditure and lack of accountability, demonstrated most recently through the high cell phone bills, which were processed for payment without the relevant due diligence being done. Dr. Mitchell said the systemic weaknesses revealed are unacceptable and must be corrected immediately. Thursday's budget retreat marked the start of the 2020 budget preparation cycle. The retreat included several presentations that focused on the mid-year economic review, fiscal risk framework for state-owned enterprises, the key medium-term agenda priorities and 2019 interventions, as well as the Sustainable Development Plan 2020 to 2035. Dr. Mitchell is optimistic that the review will provide some concrete recommendations on ways government can strengthen public spending and management.
If we fix our public management systems and put Grenada first in all our decisions within this public sector, our expenditure would be smarter, more strategic, and more sustainable over the long run.
Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Dr. The Right Honourable Keith Mitchell, says the priorities of the 2020 budget will be aligned to the National Sustainable Development Plan 2035. He was at the time addressing stakeholders at the launch of the 2020 budget cycle on Tuesday. The budget will focus on economic transformation, sustainability and security. Dr. Mitchell said the National Development Plan will guide the 2020 budget and every other budget for the next 15 years.
The National Development Plan will be owned by all and sundry, irrespective of which government is in office. The National Development Plan will put in place a systematic and comprehensive program to guide Grenada's strategic priorities for balanced, inclusive, and sustainable development over the medium term, and will simultaneously lay a foundation for Grenada's transformation over the long term. The specific national goals, objectives, and targets set out in the plan will therefore guide the priorities and work programs of all ministries.
The budget retreat provides the opportunity for discussion on the strategic content of the budget and the policy priorities, and to further implement the government's work program. The Prime Minister underscored the importance of the budget process, saying it requires a mindset shift that will consider the big picture.
The annual budget, as you know, is the most important public policy tool of the government. And its preparation must be done with utmost integrity and seriousness. The policies and programs funded through the national budget are intended to bring real solutions to real problems that affect our families, our neighbors, and our friends in all communities throughout the length and breadth of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. The budget process, therefore, requires a mindset shift towards the big picture of developmental results that we want to achieve as a nation.
This is the National Report. More news after the break.
The house was shaking. Then started the story here, bang, crack, and the roof had gone.
Man, I was so scared, I nearly wet myself.
Only those who have lived it can truly understand the devastating fury of a hurricane's wind.
The house across the road just get up and roll over.
Hurricane force wind. It's a hazard. Hazards. Take control. Reduce your loss. You can hurricane-proof your home. For example, make your roof more wind-resistant by using screws instead of nails in its construction. Find out more about hurricane force winds and other hazards at your local disaster office.
A message from the National Disaster Management Agency and CIDERA.
Continuing the news, a study being done on human trafficking in the 17 CARIFORUM countries has revealed that while not immune, Grenada is not plagued by sex trafficking and forced labor. Justin Pierre, Director of Business Development at Dunn, Pierre Barnett and Company Canada Limited, says Grenada's issue is one more of labor trafficking. He was speaking during a consultation on human trafficking commissioned by CARICOM and to be undertaken throughout the CARIFORUM region. It was commissioned to the consultancy firm Dunn, Pierre Barnett and Company, which is tasked with going through CARICOM to determine the level of human trafficking a country may be faced with.
Grenada, just based on the size, it's not really, it's not immune to human trafficking. I think there was an instance sometime in 2015 of some Nepalese students who were trafficked into Grenada. However, what most other countries in the region deal with sex trafficking and forced labor, but in Grenada, I think that it is mainly from their desk research has to do with a bit of labor trafficking, not really sexual trafficking per se. So it's more related to labor trafficking.
Ezra Matthias, Managing Director of the Matthias Group, states that human trafficking is an issue that needs to be highly prioritized. To raise awareness, programs will be conducted in schools and communities.
There will be recommendations for programs, awareness programs in the schools, through their curriculum, awareness programs with the media. In other words, every hotel employee should get a training, a 15-minute, hour training on what human trafficking looks like. We should do that. Almost every sector in the economy, there should be trainings for individuals on what it looks like. In the school, every child should be able to tell what are the signs of human trafficking. That's one of the goals, because if you have the public awareness, chances are people may come out because they'll be pointed out.
And that's the National Report. I'm Leslie Ann Johnson.
Want to stay married? Divorce speed. Never drink and drive. After whiskey, driving is risky. A message from the Traffic Department of the Royal Grenada Police Force.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new national party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated. Grenada's economy is heading for its 7th year of consistent growth, averaging over 5%. Unemployment was reduced by 20%, while debt to GDP ratio was reduced from 108% to 63.5%. NNP committed to the economic and social development of our people. NNP delivering on the promise.